Hey, so I'm really excited. I've got Steven Alvey here today, who I've been following for a while. He's a bit of a hero to me. But Steve, I know you're into affiliate marketing. I know you're into some coaching, but your big thing, the thing you're really known for, is PLR. So for those that don't know about PLR, tell us what PLR is and what first attracted you to that, why it became your thing.
Yeah, great question, Tony. First off, you're a hero of mine, by the way. Appreciate you having me. Great to talk to you. Yeah, so PLR, I love PLR for several reasons, man. There's a reason I got into it about 5 or 6 years ago. The thing that, first, I was obviously, this is most people's stories, I was a PLR consumer, right? And I loved the idea of being able to rebrand something. So PLR, of course, stands for private label rights. It's essentially a white label solution. Where you're able to take your brand or your identity and put it onto a pre-made product. This is not unique to the digital realm, although the phrase PLR is probably unique to the internet marketing space, kind of. This is actually happening everywhere. So most e-com stores and most Amazon sellers are rebranding physical products that they've acquired somewhere else, right? If you go to the supermarket, this is one a lot of people don't know about. When you go to the grocery store, and you buy, a bag of frozen peas, it'll say something like, it's usually something elegant like, Cheshire Farms or something like that. And they'll even have like an About Us section on the back of the bag of peas that says, at Cheshire Farms, we pride ourselves. And they've got pictures of, farms and stuff. It's just a white label. It's in almost all cases, it's a company that has acquired an asset from usually the same place as all the other peas come from. And they have a branding deal, and they can put their brand on it and sell it as their own. So all we're doing here with PLR is the same thing in the internet marketing, or the internet marketing niche, but also in other niches, but in the internet or the digital space. Same principle, basically. What attracted me to it and made me want to go down the road of being a PLR vendor, there's a lot of great things about it. It's a profitable place to be because it's sort of, first off, it's cross niche, right? So you have a lot more breadth in terms of what type of topic you want to make a product in. So, for example, a lot of people will come in, they want to, make it big in internet marketing, they want to launch a product, but they're not in any way interested in making a product about the internet marketing space or about, making the MMO space or the BizOps space. But they are really interested in fitness, let's say, like they're an enthusiast or maybe even a specialist in that area. Well, if you're going the PLR route, you can create a product about that topic. Topic that you're knowledgeable in and passionate about, and then you can take that, and then what you're doing is you're selling the licensing rights to people who are in the internet marketing space, right? So for that reason, because it's cross niche, it's very attractive. It's also it sort of supersedes the different levels of expertise that you have out there. So there's some products that you only sell to newbies, right? And there's some products that are only going to be bought by people who are, sort of at the upper echelons of the internet marketing space, are already successful. Everybody buys PLR, like everybody, at all those different levels. The newbies, the mid-tier, the top tier, everybody's buying PLR. And so it's a great place to be for that reason as well. And then I also just like the idea of being able to create assets that can be used, as opposed to a course on how to do this or some, method of how to do that, or a software tool, which is sometimes quite a pain to develop. Creating an easy asset that someone's going to take. It's kind of like making the decision to be the guy who sells hot dog stands to the people who want a hot dog business, instead of deciding to be trying to be a chef and make hot dogs and sell them on the streets of New York. Well, I'm going to be the guy who makes the hot dog stands, and sells those. So the idea of getting into a business where I'm creating an asset that I know there's going to be a demand for, cross niche at multiple levels, that's sort of what pulled me into the PLR space.
Yeah, okay. So it's fairly easy to get in, and I was sort of looking around some years ago. I was looking around the PLR space, and it was all pretty dire. It was poor PDFs with really grotty graphics, clip art and whatever. And I came across your Viking PLR series, which really stood out like a diamond in the mud, really, from the other stuff that was out there. It really was a step apart. So what is it then, do you think, that makes the difference between good PLR and bad PLR?
Yeah, so the qualitative question with PLR is an important one. Because you're going to be taking this asset, you're going to be putting your face and your name or your brand on it, and you don't want to be embarrassed by it, right? And there's different ways that PLR can be good in one way or bad in another way, and vice versa. So, for example, there's a lot of ugly PLR out there that's actually perfectly fine on the inside. You know, the content is correct and accurate and useful, right? But it just looks kind of funky or old school or ugly. That's not as big of a problem. You can buy PLR that has good, useful content on the inside and then just rebrand it if it looks ugly, right? It's obviously easier. You're able to skip a step a little bit if it doesn't look ugly, but not as big of a deal. Then there's PLR that might look really great on the outside, and on the inside, the content is terrible, right? Then there's maybe a middle ground where the content is factually correct and useful, but the grammar is horrifying. Right, so the presentation on the inside is bad, and so those are the three main things you're looking at: presentation on the outside, right? Presentation on the inside, so grammar. Sometimes you can tell that a freelancer who doesn't speak English particularly well maybe made the product, and then the actual usefulness and correctness of the content itself, right? And it's not necessarily always going to be, bad across the board. It might be a mix of one or two of those things. And the actual content, in addition to being not factual, you can also tell when there's no energy behind it. So if you buy a PLR package, and let's say it includes an ebook, and you read through it, with bad quality PLR, you'll often notice that there's a sense of incoherence in it. Like someone was just writing something on a topic because someone paid them to hit a certain word count, so you want to be wary of that as well. Even maybe there's nothing, incorrect in it. Maybe the grammar is even good, but it's mostly useless. It's just incoherent, it's writing for the sake of writing to hit a word count. You can tell that just by reading it. So I would be on the lookout for all those things. The best case scenario, obviously, is having all of those things across the board being high quality, right? But the next best thing would be PLR that looks kind of funky on the outside, but the inside is okay because you can always rebrand. So those are sort of your top considerations when looking for good versus bad PLR.
Yeah. Okay. So in your world, the stuff you produce, that's a sort of given. The quality's there. You've got the content, you've got the passion. But what's that extra thing that you look for before you're happy to release your products? I'm not talking about taking somebody else's products. You've got a number of different types of products. You've got book, video, the normal sort of PDF things. What makes it different? What are you looking for as a quality mark before you say, yeah, I'm good enough to go with this?
Yeah, so there's the quality aspect as far as the product itself, and then there's is the market even going to be interested in this? Those are the two things that I'm looking at. The quality aspect is pretty easy. Just have a quality check process, right? So you're looking at things before they finally hit the press, so to speak. You have hopefully you'll have, if you scale up enough, you'll have a system in place with multiple people involved, so that quality issues don't particularly occur very often, but you still want to have eyes on it, or have a general manager who will have eyes on it and make sure that the product meets quality standards. The other question is, you can put together a great PLR package that's high quality on the inside, but still nobody buys it because the market isn't interested in it. So for me, what I'm looking for before I choose to release a new product or a product line is a differentiator of some sort, right? You could be a unique selling proposition, right? Or it could be a Todd Brown style unique mechanism, or it could be a Frank Kern style big idea. With this product that I want to release, or if I want to release a hypothetical product, how am I going to make it different, and is it going to be something that the market wants? So with Viking PLR, for example, we mainly made a qualitative USP, right? Most PLR is ugly. Ours is nice, right? You can sum up Viking PLR, or at least Viking PLR's USP in those two sentences. With the Signature series, yeah, it looked elegant, and we stressed that. It was a good-looking series, but more importantly, we did the talking head presenters at the beginning, which had not been done before, right? So that was a sort of a functional, unique mechanism that we added. And then with the Executive Collection, We also had the talking head presenters. We added some cool things so that the background behind them was actually moving and stuff, and cropping and zooming and stuff, so it looked a little cooler. But that wasn't the big idea. That was just adding another little, differentiator and a new mechanism. The main idea for Executive Collection was a substantive one. It was a content-related one. So we got into things like leadership, management, employee recruiting, that kind of stuff, which had been done in a limited fashion in the PLR space before, but never, en masse in like a big, in a big product line where it was completely focused on that kind of stuff. So it was sort of a substantive, differentiator there. And then with the big idea with UPLR, which was our fourth big series, was that one was that was also a functional one. The idea was we're going to create PLR that's designed by its very nature to put your face and your name on it before it ever leaves your hands to go into someone else's hands. And we made a big deal of the ease and speed with which you could do that. I want to say it was 157 seconds. You could have all the e-covers rebranded with your face on them. So that was a functional, differentiator. So I'm looking for all those kinds of things before I choose to release a new product or a new product line.
All right. And it's a fairly competitive market. So is that what gives you the edge?
I think so. Yeah. I think, a lot of people will bring a new PLR product to the market and it's just more of the same. And there's actually nothing wrong with that. There's nothing unethical about that, but it's hard to stand out. And so what you'll see is some vendors are producing PLR every month, or maybe every 2 months, but a lot of them are doing it every month. And it's just the same thing with nothing special or new or unique about it. This month they're doing a real estate PLR. This month they're doing a lead generation PLR. And when you do that, if you look closely at their launches, you'll notice that they have gotten into a space where they are comfortable with having monthly launches with relatively low conversions, comparatively low conversions. Now, the great thing about PLR is low conversions in the PLR space are actually still pretty high compared to like an info product for end users, And so that's what I mean when I say there's nothing technically wrong with doing it that way. But in my case, I don't launch as often, and I want whatever I launch to be like a big smash hit. I want to do it well. And so for me, for that reason, coming up with a differentiator of some sort is very important for each product line.
Okay, so supposing somebody's bought one of your products, so we know it's good quality, we know there's a market for it, we know that it's something that they can use, but what's the big mistakes people make when they buy PLR? Why is it that so much of this stuff just never gets beyond being bought?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is the biggest mistake, is not using it. So the biggest pre-sales mistake in that case would be not having a plan on how you're going to use it, right? So when you're looking at a private label asset or a white label asset, whether it's a PLR course or a white label SaaS, for example, a white label software tool, you have to have a specific plan in mind for how you're going to use it. You want to use your imagination a little bit. So you're on the sales page. This is a cool PLR pack. The topic is cool. It's catchy, whatever. Can you use your imagination and envision yourself using it? Not just in general, but like, can you envision how you're going to use it? Can you envision the brand that you're going to use? Can you envision the landing page that you're going to create, right? Can you envision the members area that you're going to, fulfill it in? Can you envision how you're going to splinter it? Let's say it's a package that includes a lead magnet and then maybe a bigger ebook and then a course and then maybe an advanced course, something along those lines. How are you going to splinter that? Or are you going to combine it? What's the price point going to be? You don't have to have literally every single detail figured out. But the more of a plan and a sort of future thinking, just using your imagination and being able to envision how you're going to use it, the greater the likelihood that you'll actually end up using it.
Right. Yeah.
That's the tragedy of this entire space. It's kind of like the fitness space. No matter how good the treadmill is and how sincere the treadmill salesman is, nobody can force you to use the treadmill once it's in your living room, and 95% of people don't. It's the same story with PLR, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. So if I was now thinking, actually, I like the sound of all of this, I want to create my own PLR, what would be your sort of top tips for somebody that wanted to create their own PLR?
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a great space to get into as a vendor. I would say number one would be sort of circling back to what we said earlier, which is the idea of differentiation. So if you're going to be a PLR vendor and create PLR products and sell those licenses to other people, what are you going to do that's new or different in some way, shape, or form? And so I'm not going to repeat all that stuff again. Differentiation is a big deal. So, I mean, I'll repeat the three big things. Either a unique selling proposition, right, where you're emphasizing something that's kind of unique about your product, or a unique mechanism, meaning a very specific thing that, at least in verbiage, does not exist outside of what you have. And then the third one would be a Frank Kern style big idea, where you're honing in on one thing that usually either it's unheard of or it's usually not emphasized, and you're emphasizing that thing. So you want some type of differentiator if you're going to go the PLR vendor route. And then the other thing that I would say is don't be afraid to outsource. A lot of people are scared to outsource. If you can outsource successfully, the chances of your dream or your project becoming complete are like tenfold higher, if you're willing to outsource. And then also the ability to scale in the future is increased quite a bit. You can rinse and repeat really, really easily if you're outsourcing. So don't be afraid to outsource to a graphics designer and to a writer, as long as you get a really good writer, a voiceover artist, right? Sales page design, all that good stuff. If you're able to outsource, go ahead and outsource. Those would be the two big things if you're thinking of being a PLR vendor.
Brilliant. Steve, I really appreciate your advice and help. You really know your stuff inside out. You've been very helpful to myself. So just before we close this down, if you only had one sentence to say about PLR, what would that one sentence be?
Have a plan. It's the most important thing. Have a plan before you buy any PLR.
Brilliant. Steve, thanks so very much for this. Thanks very much for your time, mate.
Okay, for sure. Take care, Tony.
Bye now.